Querelle, a young sailor on the modestly sized Le Vengeur, stops in the port town of Brest, encountering his brother Robert in the bar/brothel, lover of the bar/brothel Madame Lysiane. Planning to sell opium to Lysiane's husband Nono, the bartender, to make some quick cash, Querelle refuses to split the money with another sailor, Vic, killing him instead. Querelle wants to sleep with Lysiane, but her husband Nono suggests he must win a game of dice with him. Querelle loses, leading to anal sex with Nono, which Querelle enjoys. Upon this discovery, Querelle seeks sex with men, craving lust as he pursues his identity, finding an opportunity to escape suspicion over Vic's murder when encountering Gil, a man who murders a colleague over his continued abuse towards him. Querelle's and Gil's bond becomes the basis of betrayal, an action in itself which is almost like an act of love for Querelle. This is Rainer Werner Fassbinder's Querelle, an adaptation of Jean Genet's Querelle of Brest. Released posthumously after Fassbinder's death at 37, his final film demonstrates his penchant for nuanced expressions of sexuality and violence, both intermingling as if one is an extension of the other, effectively bringing a visual aesthetic reminiscent of the most explicit, leather-clad Tom of Finland comics to cinema. Fassbinder's Querelle illustrates through his protagonist a male primal destruction through betrayal and manipulation, as if these actions are extensions of raw sexuality, maybe even actions of love, all while Querelle journeys on an initially reluctant discovery of his own identity. The aesthetic of Querelle is striking. The first impression the film offers is its vibrant, seemingly eternal sunset, which lights every scene, accompanying the sensuality, stickiness, and sweat throughout the film. Every location is artificial, shot in studio, extinguishing any sense of reality, amplifying the film's ethereal, hazy quality. Tom of Finland feels like a possible influence over Querelle's aesthetic. Costumes include skimpy sailor suits, leather-clad fascist cops, and men falling for effeminate lads, treating them like their girlfriends. Raw depictions of sexuality, such as the openly homoerotic portrayal of Nono fucking Querelle, feels almost taken page for page from a Tom of Finland comic strip. The spit as lubricant, the fantasy of an experienced top dominating an inexperienced bottom in sailor uniform, sex awakening a self-discovery, all while being a clearly confident depiction of anal sex eradicating conservative notions of what sex should look like. Querelle is an openly homoerotic, hypermasculine film, but it's how it explores its homoeroticism that makes it particularly fascinating. In Querelle, sex and violence are almost one and the same. The film is dedicated to Rainer Werner Fassbinder's ex-lover and muse, El Hedi Ben Salem, a man who featured in many of Fassbinder's films, most recognisably Ali, Fear Eats the Soul, and whose relationship to Fassbinder was often a violent one. El Hedi Ben Salem eventually took his own life, and while the turbulent, abusive nature of their relationship is now documented, in Fassbinder's dedication of Querelle towards El Hedi Ben Salem, it feels as if Fassbinder is uniting his understanding of love with violence and turmoil, which is thematically present throughout the film. Querelle reinforces its framing of violence as an extension of sex in how it portrays Querelle's murder of Vic, a flirtatious encounter in a secluded space, almost as if the two men were cruising, or in how the corrupt leather-clad cop Mario initially pulls a gun and switchblade out on Querelle in his threat for a handjob, and especially during a scene between Querelle and Robert as they have a switchblade duel in the street. Their stances like admiring dancers, the narrator suggesting their feud is like a lover's quarrel. Violence, or the threat of it, is portrayed as romantic, intimate, and an extension of masculine sexuality. Violence isn't the only thing depicted as an extension of sexuality, but so is betrayal and manipulation. Lysiane sings at her bar the lyrics, "Every man kills the thing he loves," and this is certainly true of Querelle. Monica Trout, writing for Sight and Sound back in 1994, suggested how betrayal becomes an act of loving Querelle, having written that the appearance of the young, beautiful angel of the apocalypse, who can now only find the core of his being by murdering and betraying the one he loves, needs a stage which enhances the perversity of this kind of passion, a nightmarish scenario of artificial terror painted in orange. Querelle here is the angel of the apocalypse, the man whose journey towards his identity includes murder and betrayal. The perversity of this kind of passion is demonstrated during scenes when Querelle plans to fuck Lucien to betray his brother Robert, Lucien's current lover. Querelle's murder of Vic, a betrayal of trust when the two had originally planned to split the cash earned from an opium deal, and when Querelle plans to betray Gil to scapegoat him for the murder of Vic, knowing Gil is suspected by the authorities due to Gil's lighter being found at the site of Vic's murder, the cherry on the cake being the false moustache Gil is encouraged to wear to perform a task for Querelle that makes him resemble Querelle's own brother Robert, implying underlying incestuous feelings when Querelle feels affection towards Gil, as if the only men Querelle can love are the ones he does wrong. To betray Gil, intent on causing him more complications, becomes like an act of metaphoric murder to sever all opportunities for this down-on-his-luck worker. For Querelle, betrayal becomes an act of love, which makes it questionable when he displays his affection towards Lieutenant Sablon, a man who longs to be with Querelle. Does Querelle only display his affection for Sablon because he sees benefit in bedding a man with military rank? After all, Sablon could protect Querelle from the legal repercussions of his destructive actions. For Querelle, betrayal, scapegoating, and manipulation are an extension of love and lust, which makes Querelle's form of love transactional, as long as it's to his own benefit. Identity is significant in Fassbinder's film. After Querelle is fucked by Nono, Querelle becomes curious of his new sense of self, seeking lustful interactions with other men, finding connections through sex or betrayal, which he initially denies as acts of love, and yet the flirtatious nature of his manipulation is undeniable. Monica Trout theorises in her piece for Sight and Sound that Querelle is overcoming an insecurity the other men experience. Querelle is a movie about men, a bewildering cosmos of super machos. The studs, Nono, Mario and Gil, are so secure in their straight identities that they can fuck men without threatening their maleness, yet they would never consider themselves homosexuals. Querelle is a novice who enters into the world of male ritual. He is humiliated by Nono, who initiates him into the group by fucking him, but Querelle's real quest is for a brother, to find his missing half. Whereas Nono and Gil show interest in men under the guise that they prefer women, Nono is married to Lucien, Gil claims interest in his lover's sister, and Mario himself seeks sexual favours in discreet places. Querelle's search of identities for a partner, a figurative brother, not necessarily a literal one like Robert. The sexual politics on display is often dominance as an overcompensation for insecurity. Nono and Gil would never admit they were queer men, and Mario seems more openly curious about other men away from prying eyes, despite his fetishistic outfit. For Querelle, through his betrayals, his callous nature, and his sexual conquests, if he's seeking a figurative brother, someone to be bonded to, then that likely comes in the form of Lieutenant Sablon, a man who would clearly do anything for Querelle. Whatever love, maleness, masculinity, sex or brotherly connection may be to Querelle, by the end it is offered to him by a man, like many before him, who is willing to do whatever Querelle requests of him. But wherever Querelle goes, intimacy and abuse come hand in hand. In conclusion, Rainer Werner Fassbinder's Querelle is a sumptuous, sweat-drenched quest of identity amidst intimate destruction, where violence and love are one and the same. A reflection on the hardships and pain that relationships can bring. For Querelle, if he seeks connection to another man, be it for love or for his own personal gains, his journey leads to encounters with insecure masculinity that denies queerness despite its presence inherent in the male sex lives portrayed in the film. Where intimacy and cruelty mix, Querelle becomes a fascinating character examination of the selfish expectations in romance and the callousness of an unaccepting world that demonstrates how affection can be manipulated for one's ulterior motives. A special thank you to my incredible tier Patreon supporter Gil, and my super tier Patreon supporters Constantine Bombelli, Jamie and Milkway.